A very, very good evening and a very warm welcome to each and every one of you here. Backstage, I told Bhaichung sir that it just automatically comes naturally to me that I would call him sir because he made his international debut in 1992 for India under 23, which was 1 year before I was born. So it just automatically would be that I would call him sir. But the sweetheart that he is, he requested, no, not at all. Just call me Bhaichung. So Bhaichung, very, very warm welcome to Cypher. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Very warm welcome to each one of you as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I mean, it's no wrong that Bhaichung Bhutia here was the true blue flag bearer of Indian football on the global stage and was very, very rightly called God's gift to Indian football. I know you guys have done this already, but absolute legend. Can we have a round of applause? All right, Bhaichung, without any further ado, let's kickstart. We are going to talk about a sport that is very, very close to the hearts of multiple Indians out there, and a majority of them owe that credit to you. We watched you play the game and we completely fell in love with it. So this time around, we are legit going to have the marriage of football and technology. Both of these spheres where India is doing very, very well, especially in the last few years. So Bhaichung, without any further ado, I want to ask you the first question. Football strategy often involves very rapid decision making. It has to change on spot, 90 minutes, cutthroat game, and often that has to be done in the same sector when it comes to the technological standpoint as well. So how important is that on-spot decision making when it comes to a football match? And then we'll try to find out the analogy when it comes to the technological sector as well. But how important is that on-spot decision making when it comes to an all-important match on the field?
You know, I think the biggest and the best managers around the world have spoken that when you have players, I think you just don't have players, good players, but you need to have smart players. And football is such a game that you've got fraction of a second to decide, because when you have a ball, you've got 3-4 players in right position, and which is the best option, what speed you release the ball, what time you release, is a fraction of a second you get that time, and you've got to take that decision. So I think it's a very, very it's a sport that where you need to think quick, you need to take the right decision. So that's where I think a lot of managers always say that we need intelligent and smart players to take those calls. And that's why if you look at the best players around the world, they are best because they take the right decision at the right moment, and that's why they're the best in the world. So yeah, I think that's where technology, I think, is going to come and is been coming and helping quite a lot in terms of preparing them for matches. I think a lot of the coaches around the world is using technology right now, all the big clubs. So I think it's become a major part. But unfortunately, I think during my era, we didn't have that kind of support.
I mean, just imagine if you had that kind of support as well, what more magic you would have created on the pitch.
No, I definitely would have been a better player, but at the same time, the others would also become good, so I don't know what would have happened. So I'm happy, actually. That's the way it is. I need to accept it. I'm sure as a player it would have helped, but you know, I've been lucky that I've been able to do well. So yeah, it benefits everybody. So and maybe they would have known each and every trick of me. So then the amount of goals I scored might have reduced as well, or maybe through technology I might have increased myself as well.
You're being modest, Bhaichung. No matter how much AI they would have done, I don't think the number of goals that you would have scored would have lessened in any way. So you mentioned these quick thinking moments, which are all important when it comes to a football match. How do you think that can come in handy even when it comes to technological leadership, when they have to take very, very quick decisions?
See, I think, I don't know about the technology part in terms of decision, but in terms of football, as I said, you know, it's fraction of second. And that is where you've got to be playing every day with the experience it comes in. And during the training, you go around that situation many times. And when you're really playing a match, I think that is where you got to take the right decision. And that's where I think, you know, a lot of difference between good player and bad player is, you know, you can make the distinguish. So I think it's very important, just not in football, in life as well. After I've retired, I know that there have been a lot of decisions where you've got to take it right. And that is where I think it comes handy if you're smart. And I think because of football these days, you tend to become everywhere. You try and read the situation, and sometimes it gets too much to me. Even in airport, when I am late, I'm trying to see which line is the shortest where I can reach fast. So always trying to calculate and see that where things get faster. So I think that really helps you to be on the toe and take the right decision.
Absolutely, Bhaichung. You have led your team to multiple victories. There were defeats as well. And there's a saying that goes that the amount that sport teaches you from a very young age itself, from school itself, there are very few things that can teach as much. So what would you say that the amount that a team can be taught to a manager when they are trying to handle their own team? What kind of similarities, what kind of learning points can they take from a sporting team that can then they use to lead their teams in a technological sector as well?
See, I think it's very important to play sport from a very young age. And I am now father of 3 kids, and I make sure my kids are playing some sports, and they are playing as well. I think sports, especially football, teaches you to be a team person. That is one of the most important things you learn. And you win or you lose always as a team. That is one of the biggest factors. With sports, I think you're always challenging. If you're not playing a tournament as well, as a kid, you're always training, but you're competing with your teammates. So every day is about competing. I'm a striker. There are other 4 strikers in my position. So they're in the same team. They want to get my position, and they want to come in to start. So there are always competition in terms of even training matches. And when you don't win, when you don't achieve, from school days itself, if you have started playing, so you know how the defeats are, and you can take that. And the most important thing with sports is, I think it gives you opportunity to come back. If you have had a bad match, you always there's another match in a week's time. Or if you had a great game, you've scored hat-trick, you can't feel proud and just settle down and not train. So you've got to perform another match. So you keep getting that opportunity to look ahead. So whatever good or bad, I think sports teaches you to look ahead and just prepare for the next challenge. And that is what I think I've learned with football.
I mean, absolutely. Please, go ahead. A great teaching, is it not? I mean, even when you have your successes, let not get that to your head. And even when you have an off day, a failure, don't let that get to your heart. Pretty much the same in the case of a match, pretty much the same in the case of a company.
So I think one of the biggest example is Lionel Messi. I think he's played 4 World Cups, and World Cup happens after 4 years. 15, 20 years he had to wait, went on to the final, lost it, came back, and the last, finally, 5th time he went on to win. I think that teaches you that you don't give up, because I think Messi, the kind of pressure he was going through in his country, because he is termed as one of the greatest, but not being able to win World Cup was one of his biggest factor. And Argentinians, everybody looked at Maradona to be god of world football, and Messi was as talented as him, but was not winning one trophy for the national team. So I think you don't give up. And one of the biggest life lesson is what I learned is through Messi, because he's just not given up. He wanted to retire in between, came back, and finally he's won it. And now I think there is no discussion, debate who's the GOAT of football.
Oh. So on the stage of Cypher, is Bhaichung Bhutia saying that, according to him, the GOAT of football is Lionel Messi?
No, because if right now, it's only about Ronaldo and Messi. And I feel very sad that next 2-3 years, after 2-3 years, we might not be hearing both of them, because they would be, I think, retiring after 2-3 years. And the last decade, 10 years, I think we only have been talking only of 2 players, is Messi and Ronaldo. But if I have to choose one of the greatest of all time, for me would be Brazilian Ronaldo. Nothing like Brazilian Ronaldo. I think he's got the talent, speed, everything of both the players combined. I think he's got the skill of Messi, he's got the speed and the strength and the finish of Ronaldo. So Brazilian Ronaldo for me was the greatest.
That 2002, yes, absolute legend. That 2002 World Cup final, I mean, no football fan can forget that match, wasn't it?
I think it was also, he had a very hard time when they lost to France. But overall, I think in terms of pure talent and pure genius as an individual player, I think I would rate him as the greatest of all time.
Absolutely. Bhaichung, before the next question, I quickly want to ask you, and if you want, we can keep the answer of this short. You mentioned the good days and the bad, both of which you saw in abundance as a player, as a leader as well. So, say if a great match happened where your team won by a great margin or a very hardly fought match ended up in a victory for you, what would be the message that you would give? And what would be the message that you would give your boys in the case of a loss?
You know, whenever I had great game, I scored and the team won and team had a great match, I used to see all the newspapers, buy all the news, because we didn't have social media and telephone those days, and read everything and feel nice about it. Obviously, it didn't go to my head and get carried away. But again, at the same time, when we had bad match, I had bad match. As a captain as well, I always told my players that, you know, first thing is after the match, don't come and discuss when you've lost, because through my own experience as a young player, I've seen a lot of seniors after a bad match get into dressing room and start fighting, blaming each other. And then it becomes very difficult to unite as a team and start getting results. It actually became worse. So that was one thing which I learned. And every time when we lost, I made sure that we didn't discuss. Then next day we came back, sat with the coach, discussed things and started working on the problems we had. So the main thing I wish to say is don't try and read when you have negative matches, because a lot of the players during our time, I think most of the players came from very humble background, and a lot of the players, obviously when I played in Calcutta, where 50% of the players were Bengali as well, and a lot of Bengali medias were there, a lot of newspapers those days. And when you have bad match, there's a lot of criticism that happens, and a lot of time the players read that, don't take it, and then they start getting more affected psychologically. So I think when you have bad matches, you just try and forget, don't read it, don't speak to anybody, just go to the ground, train harder, what mistakes you've done as a team, work on it, and start getting the result. So you should not focus more on what you did. You know exactly what you did, but obviously you've got to learn from what you've made, those mistakes, and keep working even harder.
Absolutely. I think this is a great teaching for, yes, please. This is an absolutely great teaching for all the managers, all the founders, and all the budding entrepreneurs out there as well, that you will definitely, most definitely have bad days, but don't dwell on it. If required, don't think about it that day itself. The next day, come, sit with your team, and try to make it better.
True, and again, in sports, you have a lot of bad matches and good matches as well. And it's only going to teach you and make you stronger. So I think any bad match, you feel bad about it, but I think it should not let you down. And that is, I think, the most important thing. And with experience, you will be more stronger mentally to come over.
Absolutely. Bhaichung, I want to ask you, football, 90 minutes, in and out, cutthroat game, fast-paced game, way faster than when we played for 5 days with 2 breaks in the middle. So there are, of course, strategies that are made on the boarding table before the match itself. But often it happens, maybe the opposition is playing on a different level altogether, that you have to take a very quick call of that strategy being changed in the middle of the pitch itself. How important does that become, that we are going to change the strategy but still keep the pivot intact?
First of all, I think it comes down to good management and good manager. That's why I think in football, manager plays a major role. 50% of the success or defeat is due to manager and the players. It's not like cricket. In cricket, I think the managers don't have much role. I think it's the captain that has major role taking those calls. But in football, manager plays that major role, because tactically we're working every day, every week, every month, every year. We're working with the manager on his style and tactics. And he signs players because of what tactical formation he's got. And that players fit into that system very well. That's where I think when the matches happen and we are getting it wrong, I think it's the call of the manager to really decide in terms of substitution, getting the right player there, or making some formation changes. So it's very important if you have a great manager who would be able to help you on those situations. So you need good managers then.
That's a great analogy that you put there, Bhaichung. And how would you say, because we have so many tech leaders sitting here with us, so many watching us live right now, how can tech leaders learn from these qualities of a football manager and adapt that quick agility into their business strategies?
No, I think it all depends. Like as I said in football, when you start the match, maybe by 15, 20, 30 minutes, you know what you're playing. And since we've been training every day, every player on the field and the manager knows that what we've got to do, what are our jobs on the field. And as soon as those things are not working, I think that's where you need to make a strategy, you need to make a changes. So you need to be able to adapt and make those changes so that the team does not suffer. I think that's where I'm sure with a lot of tech people as well, there are demands and there are strategies. And if things are not working, I think you need to have options how to get those, where it's not working, have those options and get it right. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Let's talk about AI in the sport. Last year itself, in Cypher's 7th edition, we had one of the greatest fielders, in fact, not even one of the greatest fielders, the greatest fielder ever to have played the game of cricket, Jonty Rhodes, on this bench. And he said that AI was delving into cricket in very, very important ways. There were major teams like Mumbai Indians and other global teams that were taking the use of technology and AI, not just for performance enhancement, but even player selection. So how has AI impacted football and the way managers look at it, the way captains look at it?
So I think in Indian football, we are yet to use the technology in much bigger way than what we've seen in world football. If you look at a lot of the clubs, bigger clubs around the world, I think the managers are relying so much on data and the technology. And in fact, I was just reading whether it's true or not, but Mohamed Salah was signed because of the data people. Liverpool signed him because seeing his data. And coaches like Pep Guardiola, when he came to Manchester City, I think the first thing he wanted to check with Man City was the kind of technology support he's going to get. So I think when you have millions of dollars spending on signing players, I think you want to get it exactly right, the kind of players, the kind of workload, the kind of talent, the kind of skill he's got. So I think now it's the entire, I think, big football playing countries are really relying on technology and data to sign and get the performance.
How do you think the usage of technology can evolve in a sport like football? Will it keep becoming stronger and stronger and take a massive stronghold over, say, manual thinking?
No, I think we've already seen the changes. I think in football, VAR is coming, which has reduced a lot of the controversies. There is still, though, despite having VAR as well, there's a lot of controversies in terms of it. But I think 80 to 90% of I think controversies are come down. We've had goal line technology and all that. I think these are things which are always going to come and help the sport grow. And in terms of even performance, individual players and team, I think technology is going to be a major factor. And if India has to really grow in terms of sporting nation, I think we'll have to start using and getting that support of technology quite a lot.
Absolutely. Say the way technology and AI is being used in football across the world soon will be used in Indian football as well. What can tech companies learn from that kind of usage?
So I'm not too sure, but I think more than anything else, tech companies can come and really support the sport and the sports person. And that is where I think the collaboration is very, very important for sharing the ideas. And that's where the tech companies can really come and help. So I think in terms of football, I think a lot of tech companies, football is also, again, as I said, it teaches you a lot of things in terms of team spirit, working as a team. So those are things I think it can really help you, and always to look forward for better performance. And that's where even in technology, I think you always want to perform and get better. Every technology you make it, you want to get better. And then that's where sports would teach a lot of people who are in technology.
Absolutely. Let's talk about homework preparation. Your preparation that you used to do before, say, big matches or even small matches for that matter. First of all, a sports person will tell you that no match is a small match. It's always an important match. The kind of preparation that you did was of a legendary level. Was there anything specific that you used to follow before a match?
No, there's nothing specific as such you have, because again, as I said, you've been training every day what you want to perform on that particular match day. And that is where I think when we prepare for any match day, there are team meetings which we get together and we discuss what we've done on the field. I think technically on the board we also discuss this are the kind of discipline we've got to keep on the match. So there's no special as such, but before the game, I think it's all about a day before when we work out as a team. It's only going to be, tactical part of it. But if you're looking, the matches are away after few days, then there are other individual things in terms of fitness, there are strength, there are other things we work it out. But mostly people, the players and the team focuses on the tactical part before the match and work on that day before, and also on the day they discuss it, not on the field but also on the table is what I think the players prepare.
One of the stories that we sports fans love to read and watch is, maybe you know what I'm talking about, is sporting legends and their superstitions. So many of the sporting legends have had very specific superstitions. Did you have maybe one or two that you would do before a match?
Not exactly, but if I had a good game, then I continue with what I did. If I had put my left shoes first and had a great game, then I continue that. But after doing that, if I had a bad game, then I change the next match. So it keeps changing that way. So nothing particular as one. But I know a lot of great players around the world have superstitions. So. And in fact, when you play in Kolkata, Kolkata football and Maidan is all about superstitions. And I remember an incident when I was playing it was a derby, East Bengal, Mohun Bagan. I was captain for East Bengal. And there was a superstition that the team which enters before in the ground is not going to win. So I was in the dressing room and we were only waiting when Mohun Bagan is going to enter the ground. And then we just realized even Mohun Bagan is waiting for when East Bengal is going to enter. And you won't believe we delayed the game by half an hour. The referee and the organization state IFA, means West Bengal Football Association, said that if both the teams don't come out now, we're going to put a heavy fine and take serious action. That's where the referees came in and took both the teams together. So
nice.
These are situations that's happened, yeah.
So that was done away with. Who won that match?
East Bengal won it because I was the captain. So somehow I put my leg a little bit later on. So it did work that particular day. Yeah.
Sir just mentioned Kolkata here. I was born and brought up there itself. I was 6 years old when I watched him play at Salt Lake Stadium for the first time. Who here has watched Bhaichung Bhutia play live? Can we have a raise of hands, please? Okay, we have quite a few raise of hands, and I can just say
it got to be 50 plus, I think, for that. 40, 50 plus.
But we can just say that even at the age of 6, when I watched him play live at the Salt Lake Stadium, just the atmosphere that he would create, the atmosphere that would be every time the ball went to his feet, was beyond something that can be explained by words. Absolute legend, ladies and gentlemen.
No, but, I've watched a lot of matches, international matches, gone and watched Man U, Arsenal, and different teams play. I think you need to have an experience. Any football fans here should go to Calcutta and watch the derby East Bengal Mohun Bagan, and especially the first derby of the season. I think that experience, what you get, you would not get anywhere around the world with biggest rivalries as well. I think that is one of the biggest experience as a football fan. You'd be able to get that. So you should try and see one. Now I think it's gone a little bit down, but 60s, 70s, 80s, and even 90s, the derbies there, and especially first match of the season, was a different level of experience. So I still suggest that anybody following football should go to Calcutta and watch the first derby of the season. It's a different experience.
Absolutely. In fact, this is something that Kolkata and Bangalore both share in common. We love the sports. As a matter of fact, if you would just open Reddit or Instagram anywhere, everybody says just one thing, that the 2023 Cricket World Cup final shouldn't have been in Ahmedabad. It should have been at Eden Gardens or Chinnaswamy or Wankhede.
No, but with Kolkata football, I think, I'm sure there are Bengalis here. You don't choose to support East Bengal Mohun Bagan. Either you're born East Bengal or you're born Mohun Bagan. Because the Mohun Bagans are supposed to be the original Bengalis, and East Bengal are supposed to be the Bengalis that's come later on. So when you play for one of this club, you're not just playing for the club, you're playing for the legacy and their things. So it's so competitive, it's so prestigious for East Bengal and Mohun fans. And sometimes it gets very, very aggressive because for fans it is their legacy, it's their prestige. So it's very, very difficult. When you have a bad match, I have experienced that we are inside the tent and we had thousands of supporters throwing stones and we are stuck there for 2 hours. That's the kind of craze you have. But when you have good matches, you win, I think the kind of respect you get is totally different. So you don't just play for East Bengal Mohun Bagan, you're also representing their legacy. So it's a big, big honor that way.
Absolutely, so true. Let's talk about mentorship and how important that can be in a youngster's life, be it a sports person or somewhere else. When you started your career, Bhaichung, 16, if I'm not wrong, international debut, under 23? Yes, at the age of 16, my gosh. So when you started your career, who were some of the key mentors in your footballing career, and how much did that help the 16-year-old budding footballer?
No, again, when you're talking of 80s and 90s, and our generation would identify it, we didn't have television as such. We in Sikkim, obviously, we did not even get newspapers or television. We didn't know any footballers, Indian footballers or world footballers. The first time I ever watched football on television was 86 Maradona. But for us, the biggest influence and biggest role models were the local players in Sikkim. Because Sikkim, if you're born in Sikkim and Northeast, there are only two things you can do is either play football and do music. Those are only two things you do. So as a kid, I started playing football and everybody played, all the kids around. And for us, the local players were big heroes for us. And every small tournament, village tournament or a tournament in the town, they had massive crowd always watching it. So for me, growing up, the local stars were one of the biggest stars and mentors for me. And that's how I think, because the environment was so big of football, and that really made me love the sport. And I always wanted to play, with village tournament or school tournaments, you always had massive crowd, and that always excited. So for me, I think local players started with, in terms of being my mentors.
Absolutely. And I'd just like to mention here, Bhaichung, that life came a circle for you because you must have had thousands and lakhs of kids come up to you, and then you yourself became that inspiration, that mentor for them. So when kids come up to you, boys, girls, both, and say, started playing football, seeing you, love the way you played, and want to become like you, how does that make you feel?
No, I think it makes you feel good. And obviously, I have my football schools, Bhaichung Bhutia Football Schools Academy now. So it's all across India, and we're quite big in Bangalore as well. And I get that opportunity to interact with a lot of the kids. And it feels good that, a lot of kids are taking up sports. And that's through my own experience. I've got a 14-year-old son, and he's also in my football academy. And it's good to see that even data as well. I think some of the sports channel was saying that the kids below the age of 15 is watching football more than any other sports, including cricket. And obviously, unfortunately, they're watching a lot of world football, Premier League and other things. I'm sure they will start watching ISL and Indian football as well. But overall, they're watching football quite a lot, and which is a very good sign. And when you interact with kids nowadays, I think with any kids, the amount of passion they have for the game, they know everything that's happening, what Ronaldo did, what Messi did, how Arsenal played last match. I think these kids are so much, they have that entire knowledge about the game and the club as well, which is a very good sign, which you don't get to see much with cricket. You don't see 14-year-old discussing, Kal aisa khela hai wo, but with football, you get to see that. And even my son, I wanted him to try all the sport before he chose to play any sport. And I encouraged him to play cricket as well. But unfortunately, he said, this is such a boring, how can you play, 12-year-old son saying that. I was very surprised. It's just not him, his friends as well. And I wanted at least एक नॉर्थ से तो निकल के कोई फर्स्ट प्लेयर इंडिया के लिए क्रिकेट खेलेगा. I was thinking that he might, but he just didn't want to play the sport. He did play around few times, but it's like, how can you play? So the mindset of that generation, what I thought was good for the sport, but I'm sure all the sports should do well. So I'm not trying to put down on cricket or something, but it's good to see that a lot of young kids now are taking football very seriously and following it. Unfortunately, it's been Messi and Ronaldo, but I think slowly they will come down to a lot of big Indian stars as well. And I think one of the biggest stars for us is Sunil Chhetri, that has really taken the game forward. So yeah, I think we need to have more Sunil Chhetris coming up in few years. That will always help the sport grow.
I mean, we had to talk about Sunil Chhetri. The inspirations, you have been one, Sunil Chhetri has been one. How important do these inspirations, these kind of mentors, how important do they become when it comes to the rise of a youngster, be it in sports or in the technological world for that matter?
I think it's very, very important to have role models and stars that achieve success. Then that's where the Indian players who are playing can see that. Obviously, Ronaldo, Messi, there are a lot of young players, they look up to it. But that's something which is good, but it's a difficult to really connect and reach that level. But when you look at role models like Sunil Chhetri, he's from your own country, own state. He's gone through all the challenges what you've gone through, and he's made it big. I think that gives you hope to reach where Sunil is reached. So it's very, very important in that aspect that you have role models. So I think, yeah, very important.
Lovely. All of you who are tech leaders, as I said, budding entrepreneurs, budding founders, can be those role models for people who will be working under you.
No, in fact, when I first played for India senior national team, I made a debut in '95. And when I played my first match for India, I was looking at the players, all were senior players. The 10 players who were playing with me in that match, everybody had a job. They were all working with banks, railways, or somewhere army. There were 2-3 players from army. So those days, people played to play India to get jobs and make their life secured because it wasn't professional then. This I'm talking about '93, '94. After I made my debut with India, after 1 or 2 years, I got a lot of offers from railways, banks to come and get a job and start working. And I didn't really take the job because I wanted to really focus on football. I was just 17, 18. So I didn't want to really take jobs and start going to office and sign. So I said, no, I don't want to take the job. And a lot of senior players and coaches as well in Kolkata said, are you crazy? How can you not take the job? Because those days, if you take a job, then your life is secured. Then they were saying, tomorrow you're going to get injured. A पैर टूटेगा, कुछ खेल नहीं पाएगा. How are you going to rely? You need to make yourself secure. But I said, no, I'm not taking it. So that's how I continued my life. I never took a job. I played completely professional. And that is the mindset. After me, few players started doing that. Today, if I look at the 11 players that play for India, I think every player today is professional. Nobody's got a job working anywhere. And in fact, now a lot of players who are good are in armies and railways or banks. They're quitting the job to play professional. So I think I feel good that me and few of my friends in that generation set up that mindset to go professional and take those chances and gamble so that you can make a career out of it. So I think that's what I think we few of us set an example, and it's good to see that players today are making a good career out of just playing professional football.
And that trend was started by, as you said, you and your folks, Bhaichung. Thank you. So we are so glad. All of us want to thank from the bottom of our hearts to your decision of not taking up that job. Bhaichung, let's talk about massive changes in the technological world that disrupt things. They disrupted things in the football world as well. You mentioned VAR a little while back. They often disrupt things in the technological world as well, in the AI world as well. There are new changes, new innovations happening by the fortnight. How do you think, how much important is it for people, say managers in the sporting teams, captains in the sporting teams, to not let those technological disruptions get to them that much, enhance them, take the advantage of that, and still keep the main mentality, that is the team winning, the team doing well forward? And what can the technological leaders also learn from those practices?
See, I think in football, the managers will have to take as much as advantage what the technology is going to provide and help the team to perform. But at the same time, the managers are not only about having great tactical knowledge and taking a lot of technology data. I think at the end of the day, you've got to be a great man management and great human being as well. I think you need to respect the players, and that is where I think all the top coaches in the world might have great knowledge about the game, but if you're not a good man management, then you don't succeed, and we've seen that. So ultimately, I think it's all, you need to take those advantages of the technology, but as a manager, I think that man management is something which you really have to succeed.
You mentioned the skills of people management. How similar do you think that skill and the usage of that skill of people management is important in, say, a football team as well, and is important in an entrepreneur's company as well?
No, I have my own story to share in terms of man management. You know, in fact, I had played for India for quite some time, and I was really not looking forward to it because I was not enjoying my football, and I was not really enjoying with the coaches, the national team coach then. There was particular coach that was looking after the national team, and I was not enjoying, and then I retired from international football then. And then after a few months, I think the coach was sacked for the national team, and they brought in a new manager, Mr. Bob Houghton. And, you know, once Bob Houghton came in, he traveled with the team. I think he took the Indian team to Canada, and then they played, and then they came back. And one fine day, I got a call from Bob Houghton saying that, Bhaichung, I wanted to meet you and come and see you. He called up all the way from Goa. He was based in Goa. He came to Calcutta to see one of the matches of East Bengal where I was playing. After the match, we went and sat, and he said, you know, I want you to come back from retirement and just not come back and play, but I want you to lead the national team as well. And, you know, I felt very touched because the coach coming all the way from Goa, watching me play, and not just come out of retirement, but also had that confidence and give me that responsibility to lead the team. So I came out of my retirement then, and then I went on to play for 5 to 7 years. And that was the best 5 years of my footballing career. And the amount of trophies we won for the Indian national team was the maximum number of matches and trophies we won. We went on to qualify for the Asia Cup, which was the second biggest tournament for any footballer in Asia to play. After 24 years, we went on to qualify. So I think it all comes down to man management. And there was similar story which I was listening to a legend footballer, you know, of one of my idol as well, Mr. Shyam Thapa. I was speaking to him one day in just meeting like that, and I was saying, Sam sir, you played for, you know, you've been such big name. We've heard so much as a kid, though I've not seen him play, but we'd heard about Shyam Thapa towards thing. When you look at it, you've not played so much for India, and I said, why is that so? And he said, you know, I was one of the best player, and what happened was Durand Cup was one of the biggest tournament then, and he said, I played a Durand Cup, and I was the best player and highest scorer. After Durand Cup, there was a coach that was making a team for Asian Games, and Shyam Thapa was not included. And he said, I felt so hurt that time that despite being the best player, scoring highest goal, and being the best player in one of the biggest tournament, which was Durand Cup, I was not selected for the national team. And that's where he said, I'm going to retire and not play. And then I said, but the coach did not speak to you then, because they went without him to play Asian Games and they had bad results and all that. And I said, did the coach never came and spoke to you? He said, हाँ, एक दिन phone किया था, those landline calls. And he said, Sam, तुम खेलना चाहता है तो आ जाओ, हम एक बार trials करते हैं, तुमको देखना चाहता हूँ. So I think, you know, I don't blame the coach then, because obviously he's not had that kind of exposure in terms of man management skills and not trained over it. So, you know, you've lost out a good player who would have gone on to play for India and got you results. So that shows that difference between good man management coach and not so great. So the results changes, because if you're just managing the players well, you can get good results. And examples are Sir Alex Ferguson, I think, is one of the biggest example of good man management.
Absolutely. Bhaichung,
I think with tech as well, if you have good managers, everybody will start performing well.
I know, right? There's that saying that goes, people don't really leave their jobs, they leave their bosses. So it's very important to be good bosses. Guys, remember that. Bhaichung, I want to ask you that it's been a little more than a decade that you have now retired from international football. What still keeps you driven? You started your school, your legit training and giving the future of Indian football back. So what still keeps you driven and passionate?
I think a lot of new challenges. In fact, I played football till the age of 35. So 35, 40, I was still involved. So I didn't want to really get involved in football after that, because when you spend 35, 40 years of your life just doing one thing, playing football, I wanted to see and experience a lot of other things apart from football. Though I started Bhaichung Bhutia football schools, I was still involved. But after post-retirement, I went on to do a lot of things, a lot of challenges, did well, a lot of things which I went into it. I'm still trying to be a good entrepreneur, which I'm trying to succeed. So did a lot of things in terms of I'm into now hospitality. I do some nice premium homestays in Sikkim. I'm promoting myself here. But anybody coming to the hills, Sikkim and Siliguri, I've got the biggest fine dining restaurant in Siliguri. It's called Goat. I think you should try. It's the best and the biggest in the Eastern India as well. So, yeah, and I've got a beautiful premium homestay in Sikkim. I've got a couple of them. We do a lot of rural tourism. So, yeah, getting into it. And now I've just got a land in Siliguri. We're trying to create one of as good as one big, good sports infrastructure in Siliguri, so that it's a multiple sports facility. So I'm just trying to create that, yeah.
So from a sporting legend, which you completely are.
And in between, I've done a lot of things, entrepreneurship, which I failed totally. I don't want to speak about, but it keeps you going and you still keep trying. So as I think there was a famous TV serial in England saying that next year, this time, I'm going to be millionaire. So there's that line. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, as I was saying, sporting legend, which you completely are, to now an entrepreneur as well. In short,
trying
to, as you said. In short, if you can tell us, how has the entrepreneurial journey up until now been like?
I think it's fun because, when I was a footballer, the only thing we did was play but travel a lot. And when you travel, you stayed in different hotels and you ate in different restaurants. So the restaurant thing got me stuck because when I went to America for a 1 month training with the team there, and when I trained there, the team had gone for a dinner to a very beautiful restaurant, and it was owned by All Stars. And that time it was called All Star Cafe. And it was, I think, with some basketball players, 3, 4 big sporting icons came together, started. So that really got me into it. And since you travel, stayed in different hotels, so I always wanted to, experiment, have a own kind of a small hotel or a homestay or a restaurant. So this was something which I wanted, and I just managed to do it after my retirement. So yeah.
Absolutely, guys. First of all, volunteers, be ready with the mics, and you guys be ready with the questions, because we are not going to take a lot of questions, but some definitely. And before that, I want to ask my last question here to Bhaichung. Bhaichung, a career for India spanning quite literally 2 decades, 19 years, more than 100 matches, more than 40 goals. That itself deserves a round of applause, guys. You have made the nation proud so many times, again and again and again and again. Talking about the nation now, the way the world is looking at India right now is so different than the way the world used to look at India, say a decade and a half back. A small example I will give, because we are here at India's biggest AI summit. Another AI summit was happening last year, December 2023 in Delhi, called the Global Partnership on Artificial Intelligence. And there I was talking to industry leaders from all across the world, and they were saying that India is right now quite literally right in the front when it comes to the AI boom, the technical boom, the digital boom. The world is looking at India differently and marveling. So as a proud Indian, how does that make you feel?
No, I think it obviously makes every Indian proud when you're leading in something. We've been hearing about it. The IT industry is so big in India, it's controlling the world. So I think it's something which we as sports person and footballers, I think football should also start learning from IT industry and AI to dominate the world. So that is where I think we would want to have that we would want to have that.
रुकावट के लिए खेद.
We will just sort that out. Just give us a moment. Yeah.
And I think that is sorted. Yes, the last line that you were saying, Bhaichung.
I think that's where we footballers and football and other sports should take inspiration and try and reach where the IT industry and AI is reached. Indian IT and Indian AI is reached. So we obviously would want to take the inspiration and reach where you guys have.
Ladies and gentlemen, you guys are, so many of you, the industry experts when it comes to the IT boom and the digital boom and the AI boom. And here's an absolute Indian sporting legend saying that the sport should take inspiration from the journey you guys have had as well. Can we have a huge round of applause for both parties here?